Baseball isn't just numbers, numbers, numbers.
This game is not being played on computers.
You don't do that with a bunch of statistical gimmicks.
You don't put a team together with a computer.
We're talking weighted runs created plus,
expected WOBA,
his sweet spot rate,
defensive runs above average,
average exit velocity,
barrel rate,
xFIP,
BABIP,
SIERA.
We are above replacement radio. And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing very well today. You made a little video essay that's been popping off on our YouTube this week.
Yeah. It was it's the first video essay in ARR history, and it's been cool to see the views go up a little bit, and I know we got a fair bit of new subscribers. So if this is your first time listening to Above Replacement Radio as the podcast, welcome. We've been doing it for over 5 years, but feel free to go into the archives of everything. But it's been fun to see the reaction to that, and I'll definitely be making more. It was fun subject, and we have a lot of fun subjects on this episode here, talking about the Mariners succeeding, and also what we'll get into Aaron Judge, lighting the world on fire, just because we haven't really talked
Believe
about
it or not.
Yeah, he's finally having his breakout year. I mean,
everyone's been saying, what if everything goes right and he just puts up a 1300 OPS? Well, he's doing it. So we're gonna talk about it.
Everything's
he's truly capable of. What if he didn't have that one bad April last year and he put it all together and he could finally actually live up to his contract for once?
Yeah.
That's what everyone says when they talk about Aaron Judge struggling. They're like, it's always the regular season. It's always that 1 month in the regular season that's the problem. Like, everything else is perfect, regular season and post.
No, exactly. They all call him a May through October merchant.
Yeah,
is what they call him. Everything's finally clicking for Aaron Judge. We haven't talked about him really at all this year on the podcast. We'll get into that, and then also kind of a nerdy statistical segment that we are introducing here that I'm very much looking forward to, along with our players to highlight. But first we have the Mariners. They have won 16 of their last 20. They currently lead in the AL West with a 20-12 record. What have you thought about what the Mariners have been doing this year?
They're doing the exact opposite of what everyone expected. I don't think anyone's too shocked that they're good, that they're leading the AL West and in fact have the best record in the American League, but they're doing it by virtue of one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball, which is not what anyone really had in store for this team. They were obviously very offensively depressing last year. They lost a lot of games that their pitching, did really well in, that just they couldn't score enough runs. And things are different this year. The Mariners have a 130 weighted runs created plus this season. Only the Yankees have a higher weighted runs created plus, which is very exciting. They actually even have a 120 OPS plus at home, which is obviously where the root of their struggles have always been. They're better on the road. They're only hitting 220 at home still, but they have a 178 ISO. They have a 120 weighted runs created plus. So things still aren't even too bad.
Yeah, indeed. And when you dilute it down to the last 20 games, it is even better. They have the best weighted runs created plus in baseball by a lot. They have a 151 weighted runs created plus. That is 24 points higher than the next best team. And even in the non-park adjusted statistics, they are absolutely excelling. They have the highest OPS in baseball over the last 20 games. That is partially driven by having the best on-base percentage in baseball over these last 20 games, which is partially driven by having the second best walk rate. They also have the second best slugging. They have the second best ISO. So in every aspect, the Mariners offense has been rolling, whether that be, hitting for power, having good plate discipline, and getting on base that way. It's all been clicking offensively. And during this span, their pitching has been solid, but not anything that we haven't seen before. They rank 8th in ERA in this span and 15th in ERA minus, which is a park adjusted statistic. So they've kind of been, closer to average as a staff, but have really excelled as an offense, which is definitely something you wouldn't have expected to hear at this point in the year.
They have an 830 team OPS on the road this year, which is second only to the Chicago Cubs. They have a 140 weighted runs created plus on the road, which leads Major League Baseball. They've been an elite offense on the road and a pretty good one at home, which is, with that pitching, really all you need to be is pretty good. And that's what they've been. And like you mentioned, 16 of the last 20. The pitching hasn't been up to its potential, but it's still been very solid. I'm also just very interested in how the Mariners are doing it because Julio Rodriguez has really not even been a factor since, in this span. I believe he had like a 900 something OPS after April 4th, and since then he's hitting under 100 with a 617 OPS. It's Cal Raleigh, it's JP Crawford, Jorge Polanco has been a revelation at the plate, and Randy Rosarena's hitting well. It's a lot of the sort of secondary guys to Julio are playing, way above, I think, their expectations. And that's what's causing this team to be so dynamic offensively.
Yeah, it is something funny. We talked about, kind of joked about before the show, despite the Mariners having the best offense in baseball in this span, Julio Rodriguez can't beat he can't hit in April allegations. It is a reality that is still with us. But yeah, Cal Raleigh has really been carrying the team and the offense in general. He has a 215 weighted runs created plus in this span, an 1109 OPS, and he also has the third highest F4 in all of baseball in this span. Partially due to the fact that he is one of the best defensive catchers in baseball, to go along with the fact that he's performing 115% above average at the plate. So that has certainly been a major factor. And yes, some guys have some, more under the radar guys have also chipped in with Jorge Polanco in his limited time at the plate. Absolutely excelling. He's hitting 385 with a 1316 OPS in this 20 game span. That's good for a 274 weighted runs created plus. And also Randy Arozarena is really contributing. Obviously was a big acquisition at last year's deadline. He is hitting 261 with an 863 OPS and 163 weighted runs created plus. JP Crawford is hitting 362 with a 986 OPS in the span, good for a 195 weighted runs created plus. And even like guys who I think probably get either platoon roles or kind of fill in here and there, they're really doing well. Rowdy Tellez has 49 plate appearances in this 20 game span. He's hitting 267 with a 904 OPS, 163 weighted runs created plus. Dylan Moore, a former player, I think a 2-time player to watch of mine or something like that.
Sounds about right.
He is hitting 273 with an 881 OPS in this span with a 153 weighted runs created plus. And Leo Rivas in 43 plate appearances, he's hitting 382 with a 923 OPS, 188 weighted runs created plus. And finally, Mitch Garver, 40 plate appearances, 290 average, 869 OPS, and 169 weighted runs created plus. So it seems like, throughout this whole span, there really have not been any holes in the lineup, which is pretty excellent, because usually it's, and oftentimes with the Mariners, it's almost all holes. And now, at least for this 20 game span, it has been really, really deep.
They've been like a advanced metrics guys dream this year. They're only hitting 248 as a team, which ranks 13th in Major League Baseball. But they're leading the league in walk rate with an 11.1% walk rate. They're fifth in isolated power at 179. So the batting average might not be fantastic, but they're second in on-base percentage. They're fifth in slugging percentage. They're doing, all of the extra base hit things and walk things, all of the fun stuff that you want to see, more of out of a team. Obviously, a higher batting average would accelerate all of that as well, and that would be nice. But that's just not the style of offense that this team plays. I've talked about this with the Mariners for a few years now, where they always seem to pull a lot of their fly balls and just not have the actual results on the field really show that they're very good at it. They're doing it again this year. They've pulled 36% of fly balls that the team has hit this year, the highest rate in all of Major League Baseball by about 3%. So, like I said, and I always talk about this. If you hit a fly ball to the pull side, it has a 30% higher chance of being a home run compared to if you hit it to straightaway center or to the opposite fields. The Mariners are using that pull side, to their advantage. Cal Raleigh, most notably, has pulled 61.8% of his fly balls, which is the highest of the 82 hitters with at least 25 fly balls hit. So it's definitely encouraging to see this team doing the thing that they've always done and actually having it show this time, because they've always been this team that has a lot of pulled fly balls, but it comes just with a generically bad offense as a whole, and it feels like it doesn't really mean much. In retrospect, I still feel like it meant something. It was holding them back from being an even worse offense. Now we're actually seeing them get the results in, and it feels a lot more meaningful to say, hey, look what this team is doing. They're pulling the ball, they're hitting in the air, and look at that. They have, some of the best power in the league. They're walking a lot. Despite not having the greatest batting average, they're doing very well as a team offensively.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the having a high pulled fly ball rate is going to make it so that the batting average isn't gonna matter that much, because you're slugging quite a bit, because a lot of those pulled fly balls are going out of the ballpark.
Mhm.
But yeah, and yeah, I forgot to mention, all this has resulted in that 16-4 record is the best in baseball in this span, in that 20 game
Yeah.
span. So
Um,
they have been the
20,
best team in baseball.
21.4% of fly balls hit by Mariners hitters this year have been converted to home runs. That is the highest home run to fly ball ratio in the league,
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that is
which is largely because they're pulling it. And I would bet they probably have the largest discrepancy, or one of the largest discrepancies, in like expected slugging versus slugging on the lucky side of things, quote unquote.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
which is not necessarily anything against the Mariners. It's just showing that they pull the ball a lot.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
They're
It
actually
is
towards the middle,
yeah, it is
which means they're just hitting it really hard.
right. Yeah, no, they're certainly doing their thing. This is definitely a team that got a lot of criticism for not doing too much over the off season. But yeah, with something with a spin like this, you wonder, okay, maybe did they kind of change a little bit philosophically? Did they kind of change stuff with their coaching staff or under the hood? I know they're under new management this year, with Dan Wilson, and
Technically,
which,
yeah, new. He was there as an
yeah,
interim manager last year, but yeah, officially full time new.
yeah, full time. I think more his staff, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't dove um into what the Mariners staff looks like this year compared to last year, but I'm sure things have switched up a little bit. I'm not, it could just be the hitters hitting better and doing that kind of on their own volition, but maybe there's more things at play. Could be a factor, who knows? But yeah, did you have anything more on the Mariners?
They are also barreling 34.8% of their fly balls this year, which is the highest rate in the league.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, going into specific performers, right? I mean, I mentioned Jorge Polanco is kind of leading the offense right now, which is very funny. Leo Rivas, he habit, but he's hitting very well. Obviously, Cal Raleigh, Dylan Moore. We've kind of mentioned all the guys. I'm very excited to see how good this offense could be if Julio is able to return to form. I'm sure that would mean, a lot of these guys probably go down, right? Like, I don't think Leo Rivas is going to maintain a 188 weighted runs created plus and a 464 BABIP. But I'm very excited to see if this can be a more complete unit with Julio being the guy that he is supposed to be. And, the defense has been phenomenal this year. He's literally playing the best defense of his career. So, I mean, you add in the style of offense that we expect out of him. Like, we're looking at an easy 5-win season from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, and what's funny is we've kind of grown used to this from Julio Rodriguez, and like we don't expect him. We've just grown accustomed to not expecting him to perform in April, or even like April, May, June. But he just, in the March/April month, he just had the second best OPS of his career.
Mhm.
in that month. Granted, it was 681, which is not anything special, but if he follows the trend of always improving after April, then that's a really good sign that he had, the
Yep.
second best
He
April OPS of his career.
As of right now, his strikeout rate is the lowest it's ever been in a season. His walk rate is the highest it's ever been. He has a 242 BABIP, and that's with a 52% ground ball rate. Like, he's going to get better. I would obviously love to see the ground ball rate go down and not be 50%. Because it's taken a lot from his line drive rate, it's taken from his fly ball rate. He's not pulling the ball in the air as much as he used to. Like the improvements are very clear, and I think they're very attainable for him. And yeah, a 106 weighted runs created plus at this point is not bad considering where he's been in previous seasons.
Yeah, and he also has the highest expected slugging and expected WOBA of his career so far.
Yep.
Granted, that's a small sample size, but it does imply that things are going to get better. I mean, I haven't looked at the pull rates or anything. Which yeah, it looks like
Pull rate is
pull
back to
rate,
where it used to be,
yeah. Yeah, the general pull rate
but it's just there's more ground balls.
is better, and yeah, more ground balls, so the pulled air rate is down because that's pulled air rate for all batted balls. But yeah,
Hmm.
so yeah, the Mariners are yeah, swinging the bats really well, and that's resulted in them winning a lot of games. And yeah, they're on top of the AL West, which obviously feel like that'll be a fun race throughout the year. Rangers and Astros have been kind of treading water for most of the year, but either one of them can obviously get on a hot streak and make this race really competitive. um
Yes.
but yeah, anything more on Seattle?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome. So yeah, now we move on to um Aaron Judge. He's hitting the ball really well. Once again,
Believe it or not,
he's
yeah.
not stopping. Yeah, he has 3.5 F4 at the current moment. The next best player has
2.2.
2.2. It's pretty like exceptional just how above and beyond everyone else he has been this year, and how it's almost just not news. It's just like, oh yeah, he's just kind of doing that, and that's almost what we expect out of him.
It feels like it's his like 50th percentile outcome at this
Yeah,
point. So yeah, this is the
exactly.
baseline like 30 game stretch for Aaron Judge.
Yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, what have been your takeaways on 2025 Aaron Judge?
It's kind of hilarious how it still feels like he's got something still in him. Um, to a certain degree. Like I say only because he's not leading the league in home runs, which means that he hasn't hit that many home runs. One single person has hit more, which is, as we mentioned, Cal Raleigh, who has pulled 61% of his fly balls. He went like 17 games or whatever it was without hitting a single home run and still hit like 400 in that span. He's hitting 432 this year. He's weirdly become like a little more contact base, not in a way that I think is sustainable even for Aaron Judge, but still very cool.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. With Aaron Judge, you're always like, okay, he's gonna strike out a decent amount, and he's actually, since his rookie year, he's definitely cut it down a little bit, but it is now a below. He now has a below average, or a better than average, I should say, strikeout rate at 20.3%, which is really cool. And I think process wise, it seems to be working out for him, not just on the surface, but also under the surface. Like, has really good expected numbers to go with his actual numbers. But yeah, it is funny to think about, okay, what if Aaron Judge, the amazing hitter that he is, being the best hitter in baseball, pretty much not a debate at this point. Um, what if we gave him also some really good luck as well?
Yeah.
Because he is hitting 474 on ground balls right now. Out of the, I should go back to how many samples there are here, but yeah, out of the 205 hitters to hit 25 plus ground balls this year, Aaron Judge has the second highest average on ground balls at 474. And if you break it down to how lucky he's been, he has the fifth luckiest difference in batting average and expected batting average on ground balls. And yeah, that's not to say that he shouldn't be good at all. It's just, he should be a little bit worse. Maybe he should have a 1200 OPS instead of a 1300 OPS. But it is funny what Aaron Judge can be capable of if he has some good luck going his way as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I believe he's hitting 333 with a 216 expected batting average on ground balls that are not hard hit. Also hitting 308 with a 208, two something, another two something expected batting average on ground balls hit below 85 miles an hour. So yeah, there is luck, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's all right.
Yeah.
But that part of it should decrease. However, the fact that he's had that in a stretch where he didn't have a lot of power is quite remarkable. Just giving you an example, there was a 20-game stretch from April 5th through April 27th where Aaron Judge only hit one home run, which one home run in 20 games for Aaron Judge is not very good. That's a 8 home run pace per 162 games. Yet he had a 1076 OPS in that span, which is comical.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's extremely hard to do, but Aaron Judge has found a way. And yeah, by the way, me talking about his some of the luck factors going his way is not to besmirch what he has done under the surface, because that's
Mhm.
also continued to be excellent. He has a 24% barrel rate, which honestly, like before 2022, when he had that 62 home run season, like a 24% barrel rate was kind of out of question. Like nobody does that in any sort of long sample size, but he's managed to consistently be doing that since 2022, and he's continued that. He's also averaging a 95.5 mile per hour average exit velocity and a 56.8% hard hit rate, and that average exit velocity is in the 99th percentile, barrel rate is in the 100th percentile, hard hit rate in the 96th percentile, bat speed in the 97th percentile. So he's maintained that power aspect absolutely. That him slugging 792 definitely says that. And it's just he also has a little bit of luck going his way, and that's pretty awesome to see just from a numbers perspective. Like, yeah, this is what happens when you can run into a little bit of luck.
The Yankees have played in 33 games so far this season. Aaron Judge has appeared in all 33 of them, and he has 17 multi-hit games. He is one of just 7 Yankees to have 17 or more multi-hit games in the Yankees' first 33 games of the season. The other players to do so include Derek Jeter, Alfonso Soriano, Paul O'Neill, Thurman Munson, Lou Gehrig, and Early Combs, who did it 19 times in the 1925 season.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
There's a stat right there.
Hell yeah.
There are
And
some
yeah,
names on that list. I think Early Combs and Thurman Munson, and Paul O'Neill are the only. Actually, never mind. I was going to say there's a lot of non-Hall of Famers on that list. Only Derek Jeter and Lou Gehrig are in there.
um,
But all of them were, meaningful players in the organization. Like Alfonso Soriano, quite underrated when he was there, and really just in general.
right,
O'Neill,
right.
O'Neill was, there during the dynasty years. Early Combs is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yep. 825 career OPS plus in 6,500 plate appearances.
Yeah, no, he's been excellent. And also funnily enough, Aaron Judge has +3 defensive run value this year,
Yeah,
which is,
he's also playing very good right field defense.
yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, he can do that too. That's pretty crazy. Um and yeah, kind of looking at the grander scale, I'm sure a lot of people have been seeing the stats on either his last 365 days or like last 162 games, and comparing that, and it's pretty absurd what he
It's
has done.
Ruthian and Bonzian for sure.
Yes, it's which that those guys and their statistics have seemed untouchable until now, until Aaron Judge has been reaching them. Since May 4th of last year, we're recording on May 4th. So since May 4th of last year, Aaron Judge has a 1289 OPS. No one qualify, no qualifiers in that span come within 250 points of OPS of Aaron Judge. He's slugging 791. No one else is within 150 points of slugging percentage. He also leads in on base percentage by 89 points, and he leads in batting average too by 43 points. It's just exceptional how above and beyond the rest of the league he is at hitting. And I think, and I don't know if we want to get into this, but I think there is certainly a debate to be had now, that even with Shohei Ohtani pitching, Aaron Judge would be the best player in baseball.
It's something that I think you can't just dismiss the argument right now.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to wait to see Shohei Ohtani pitching to remember what that feels like. I don't think it's wrong to maintain the take that Shohei Ohtani's still that guy right now. I mean, even in a quote unquote down year so far, he has a 173 weighted runs created plus. Like he's still a really, really good hitter. Like I feel like I do want to see what the Ohtani pitching stuff looks like right now. Which we can't see it right now, but hopefully we will soon. But I mean, you and I correctly pointed out before that with Shohei Ohtani not pitching, that Judge was the best player in baseball, and we were right. And we put him number 2 this year to make room for Ohtani. Yeah, I think it's very possible that we could keep him at 1, or we could put him back at 1 next year if he continues on this torrid pace, and if Ohtani, despite hitting and pitching, just isn't doing the same stuff.
Right. And it's not even a thing of, Ohtani is not underperforming at all. It's
No.
just Aaron Judge is on a whole nother level of hitting, and it can almost make up for him not pitching, which is a hilarious sentence to say, but you know what I'm saying by that.
Yes.
But yeah, like looking at since May 4th, he has 14.2 F4, which all time, I think that would rank top 3 in a season all time.
Yeah.
I think it outdoes anything Bonds did, and it's maybe just below anything Ruth did.
To be fair, he only has 24 intentional walks over the last 2 years.
Yes, that
Bonds
could
had
be,
120 in 1 year.
that is an advantage that
That
Aaron
is
Judge,
definitely something that needs to be thrown into that comparison.
it is an advantage that Aaron Judge is not getting intentionally walked once a game.
Why isn't he? Like he should be. Like last year, it made sense because if you didn't want to face Judge, you had to worry about Juan Soto. Like you don't have that now.
Yeah, I mean the guy has a 254 weighted runs created plus since May 4th of last year. Last time we were seeing 250 weighted runs, or last time we were seeing like mid 240 or mid 200s weighted runs created plus seasons was Barry Bonds, and he was getting that treatment. So and probably I'm sure the Giants lineup was kind of similar to how the Yankees lineup is right now, where Bonds is like the main guy. Bonds was the main guy. Aaron Judge is the main guy here.
Has he been intentionally walked with the bases empty at all? Like ever?
I feel like I feel like I would have remembered if that was.
Oh wait, let me check. I'm on the splits tool right now. I'm checking it out.
Yeah. But yeah. When we get that stat, I'll go back to talking about him versus Ohtani, because
Yeah,
I think
no.
that is an interesting.
Yes, it happened 3 times last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
3 times last year, once in 2017, once in 2023, and it has happened once this year as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I do. I wonder if some of those have been like, oh, they got down 2-0, and it's like,
Let
okay,
me,
it's not
I'm
worth
gonna
it.
check. I'm gonna check these. Let me see what we got here. Okay, so the time it happened this year, it was on March 30th. So it was the 3rd game of the season
Yeah, that Brewers
against the
series.
Brewers, but not like the big game against the Brewers. The big game was the 29th.
Yeah, but it was like a 13-run game for the
Yep.
Yankees.
20-9. They did win this game 12-3.
12 run game. You know?
Wow, this is awesome. Bottom of the third in this game. Ground out, fly out, intentional walk, Jazz Chisholm home run. That's awesome.
That's great.
Did he get any pitches thrown to him? He did. Okay. So there's a caveat to this. The count was 3-0, and they just intentionally walked him.
Yeah.
So
No,
it wasn't like a he stepped to the plate situation, and then they just put they got it to 3-0 and then said, all right, yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah,
Which honestly, fair enough.
I was gonna say, I think
They
if
do count those.
I think if Judge ever had
Like step
you
to
know,
the plate, go to which Bonds had those too.
that would be a viral moment. And
Yeah.
yeah, Bonds definitely had that, but like, yeah, I think, in the internet age, we would see that and it would be all over Twitter and it'd be like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
something that I should have put as a bold prediction for the draft this year was we see an Aaron Judge uh bases loaded intentional walk.
Oh yeah,
He
that would
gets
have
he
been a
gets
good one.
the Corey Seager treatment, as they say.
Yeah, I forgot that happened.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. But but yeah, so yeah, going back to talking about, the best player in baseball debate, and I think that
Hmm.
is that's honestly a debate right now.
Yeah.
And that's no, it's no diss to Otani, but
Hmm.
it's something that's happening. And we've already seen Judge be evaluated above Otani in a certain measure, while Otani has excelled in both hitting and pitching. That was back in 2022, where you know Judge won that MVP race, and for decent reason. That if you look at wins above replacement on both Baseball Reference and Fangraphs, Aaron Judge, on his position player, just being a position player, outdid what Otani did um, in his combined position player and pitching effort.
Hmm.
Judge had 10.8 B WAR, Otani had 9.6 B WAR combined, and then going back to the combined wins above replacement in 2022. Judge had 11.1, Otani had 9.2. So it is possible for Judge to have better production than Otani, um, while Otani's pitching. So I think looking at it now, where Aaron Judge is, 150% above average at the plate over a 365-day span. I think that gives an excuse to be like, yeah, that is better than a guy both pitching and hitting very well.
That's what
There
it
is this
takes.
there's certain that's what it takes. That's what
Yeah.
it takes, and it's hard to do.
I mean,
And
if you go back to 2021, with the first year that Otani, established himself as the face of the league, as the player in the league, and additionally, a year before Aaron Judge, did his 62 home run season. If you ask someone, what does it take for a guy to be considered a better player than Shohei Otani, you'd probably say something like, I don't know, a 250 weighted runs created plus in a 100 in a 365-day span, probably.
yeah, yeah. Basically, do what Barry Bonds did.
Yeah, I don't know, Barry Bonds.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I think if yeah, I think if Otani did what he was doing in the Bonds era, I think there would be debates of like who was better.
Well,
And
I think hypothetically, if Otani was doing this in the Bonds era and there was no reason to suspect PED use, people overwhelmingly would have said he was better.
um who Otani.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also wins by replacement
Yes, that too.
was not much of a factor. So it'd be like,
Hmm.
oh well, he's doing yeah, yeah, I think I agree with that. Um but yeah, no, it is a debate because of just how exceptional Aaron Judge has been at hitting the baseball. And I guess to one last kind of nerdy way to look at it is like, okay, so Aaron Judge is 150% better than the average hitter. So like what would Otani have to do to top that? He'd probably have to be combined 150% better at hitting and pitching.
Yeah.
And there's other factors that come into play. But like if Otani had a 175 OPS plus and 175 ERA plus, then he would be matching Judge's production. But then again, there's defense that comes into play, and then also Otani's a much better base runner. And that's why WAR exists, by the way,
Hmm.
if you don't know. But that's another way to look at it. But yeah, it's a layered conversation, but I think it's certainly a debate to be had.
Another thing that I think Judge doesn't get enough credit for, because people kind of forget that this was ever really a narrative, we're I think far enough removed from it now. Like there used to be an Aaron Judge can't stay healthy narrative, and he has completely wiped that away in in the last few years, right? Like he missed 60 games in 2019 for a lingering injury. He missed some games in 2018 as well, but that was largely because he got hit by a pitch. Like not really fair. 2020 he missed half the season, which 2020 missing half the season, that means you played like a month's worth of games total. And ever since then, right, 148 games played in 2021, 157 in 2022, 106 in 2023, but that's largely because of one single play, not because of a lingering thing. And oh, by the way, like he said after 2023, like, yeah, that toe injury that I suffered on that play in Dodger Stadium, like that's probably going to impact the rest of my career. Like I'm probably never going to fully be. That's a real thing that he said. And since then, right, 158 games with an 1159 OPS in 2024, and now this year hasn't missed a game yet. Like there used to be people that would say like, oh, Aaron Judge can't stay healthy. He has been one of the most durable players in the league. Like the last time that he had a lengthy IL stint because of a lingering thing was 2020. And even then, the only looks much larger because it was a shortened season. He could have still played in 130 games that year
Yeah,
if
exactly,
it was a full
exactly.
season.
Yeah, no, the you know, obviously sometimes the uh sometimes the people who point out health, and sometimes I'm one of those people. Sometimes takes can be very lazy. Yeah,
Mhm.
Aaron Judge since 2021 ranks 36th in games played, which is good, by the way. He's only
Yeah.
missed, he hasn't missed that many games.
And most of the games he has missed are because of a freak that anyone would have been out with if it happened to them.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, it's because yeah, I remember like after 2020, I was like, yeah, it doesn't look great. And I think part of it is the fact that, he is so huge, and
Hmm.
he has a teammate that's also huge who can't stay healthy. And when you have when you're 6'7", 280 pounds of largely muscle, that muscle can run into trouble. You can pull stuff a lot more easily. Especially in such in such a sport with such explosive movement like baseball. Things can happen. You can, pull stuff, strain stuff, tear stuff very, a lot easier at that body mass. But Aaron Judge has managed through it, and yeah, the only thing that's taken him off the field since 2021 has been a freak injury. And yeah, even as you mentioned, like I did hate when people put the 2018 stuff against him, because yeah, he was hit by a pitch and that's what took him out. That's a freak injury. That's why I hate when people kind of point out Trevor Story's lack of being able to stay on the field. Like he got hit by a pitch in 2022 that took him out. In 2023, he got Tommy John surgery. 2024 was another freak injury. It's like, yeah, it's not that he's always, he always has like a strained hamstring or something like that. It's and with Judge, that was the thing, is he had a couple freak injuries and people put that against him. But
Hmm.
yeah, outside of those freak injuries, he's been fairly durable outside of 2019 and 2020, and that was, a whole different world ago. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's been very fun. Like you kind of have to suspend like he's a Yankee isms when like talking about him, because it's like, no, dude, this is crazy.
Right. Yeah. And like it is cool to see in our era, the big bad Yankee. And it's not like it's way different than Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter was, and we can talk about the overrated, underrated thing forever, but even in a way that people prop him up, he wasn't, the home run masher. He was more the finesse player, opposite field singles, good defense. I put that in quotation marks. That type of player, the captain, the leader, the guy who said all the right things. Aaron Judge is the guy who says all the right things, but he also is always a threat to break the home run record, whether that be AL or, he's he's always a decent threat for Bonds, have
Yeah.
someone sneak through. But yeah, like it's crazy to see like, oh yeah, what if Babe Ruth had those numbers in 2025 instead of 1925? It's like, oh, we have them right here. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, anything more on Aaron Judge?
No, I think we did this segment justice for sure.
Yeah, yeah, he's a good player, and yeah, like sometimes Shohei Ohtani existing takes away from just how excellent Aaron Judge is, because like you think about like Mike Trout in the 2010s, everyone knew who he was the best, and he was above and beyond and way better.
Not
Because
always.
but not always, but yeah, Miguel Cabrera won some MVPs over him that were debatable, but
Josh
Mike Trout.
Donaldson.
Mike Trout was the player of the 2010s, whereas the player of the 2020s, Aaron Judge, you could argue, has been better than Mike Trout was in the 2010s, and he's still arguably the second best player of this current decade, which is crazy. So I think sometimes Ohtani existing does take away from how we look at Aaron Judge, and we should
And
show that
vice
he did
versa to a certain
well.
degree too.
True, yeah. Because yeah, if uh if not for Aaron Judge last year, Ohtani would have been the best hitter in baseball last year.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
along with, stealing 59 bases. So yeah, it is a catch 22 there sometimes. Um, yeah, so yeah, now we will get into a segment we have never done before,
Yeah.
which
I
is
didn't prepare too much for this to be honest, but I don't know. I don't really know how we
yeah,
anticipate
we
this was
we
going to go.
we do enough prep for other stuff, but yeah, I didn't do too much prep either. But did you want to introduce what we're doing here?
Yeah, so if you listen to this show, Chris and I obviously have a lot of analysis on I think we make it very clear what we like in players, whether it be hitters, whether it be pitchers. Like we make it very clear what we're looking for, what constitutes growth for us or decline, whatever. So I wanted to highlight some players, maybe guys that uh potentially could be ineligible for other stuff. I think most of my players would be eligible, but guys that are sort of fitting the narrative of they're doing this thing that we like and they are better off for it. I guess is how I would describe it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Um,
I'll
yeah,
let you. I picked three players. I figured I'll have you go first for this one.
sounds good.
I don't
Yeah,
know how many players you picked.
yeah, I picked like three guys, but there's like a couple others that I could also just shout out.
Yeah, exactly.
My first one, and this is a stat where I probably haven't talked about it in a while just because it hasn't, fit any players that have been excelling, but it is a stat I enjoy, and it is hard hit line drive rate. Um, and Gavin Sheets has been above and beyond in that category. Gavin Sheets, 35% of Gavin Sheets's batted balls have been hard hit line drives, which I I forget what the league average is, but I think the league average is around 11%, and
Hey,
Gavin Sheets is at 35%. Um, before in the 4 years of his career before this, he had never eclipsed 13.2%, and this year he is at 35%. And out of the, I think, 200 plus hitters who have hit 50 plus batted balls this year, he is above and beyond. He has above and beyond the highest hard hit line drive rate. So that's something that I like to see, partially because I think the league hits about 700 on hard hit line drives. And it is also a thing where like the the sabermetrician and the old school baseball fan can shake their hands and be like, yes, I like hard hit line drives.
Yeah.
And for the old school baseball fan, it's the eye test. And for sabermetricians, it's batted balls with a 95 plus mile per hour average exit velocity and a launch within a certain launch angle. So a certain launch angle range. So Gavin Sheets has been excellent in that department.
Yeah, if you've been watching my screen over the last minute, I hope you've been enjoying the additional entertainment that's being provided.
Yeah, Theo's kind of spazzing out back there.
Yeah, yeah, he's been he's been doing that. I threw his toy on the bed. He's been going crazy for it. The first player that I want to highlight, someone that I didn't hype up too much on this show, but I had maybe some higher expectations than most for. And they've been paying off so far as Theo goes crazy in the background. I'm talking about Pete Crow Armstrong from the Cubs, who has 2.2 F WAR, tied for second in the league, as Chris mentioned earlier, and no runs, which is astounding. He hit 10 home runs between 2023 and 24. Oh my goodness. He hit 10 home runs between 2023 and 24. He has 9 this year. And one of the major reasons why is because 40% of fly balls he's hit this year have been pulled. I talk a lot about pull rate on fly balls. I've done it earlier in this show. And the reason why I like it is because it's easiest to hit a home run to the pull side. It's less distance. You have more power to the pull side naturally. Fly balls that are hit to the pull side have a 30% higher chance of being a home run than those hit to center field or the opposite field. And Pete Crow Armstrong is doing that 40% of the time. He did it 23.9% of the time over the last 2 years. The league average is around 26%. And that's why you see him, with so many home runs this early in the season. His home run to fly ball ratio has obviously been higher. And he has 21 extra base hits this year, 20 extra base hits, which is tied for the second most in the National League. On top of that, right, he's playing Pete Crow Armstrong style defense. He's running the bases like Pete Crow Armstrong. And it all adds up to him being one of the best players in all of baseball. So it's been very cool to see. The pulled fly ball rate obviously is assisting him greatly there. And I'm talking about him as someone that's doing something that I like to see and succeeding because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, final thing on Gavin Sheets here. I forgot that I had the tab open of the hard hit line drive leaderboards, but he has 35%. Next best has 25% hard hit line drives. And the next player I'll talk about who has done a lot better in a certain category I like. And this can be its own catch-22 because sometimes this style of pitching can just lead to worse things happening indirectly, not because of doing better in the stat, but just because of allowing more fly balls, more balls in the air. But Tyler McGill has allowed way more pop-ups this year, and he's been greatly rewarded because of that. He has a sub-1 ERA, a sub-3 expected ERA, and that is largely propped up by a 15.4% pop-up rate. And among the where's the year-to-year change leaderboard at?
It's you go to leaderboards, go to pitching, it's all the way down.
I think I had it open and then X'd out. But out of however many qualifiers there were, he had the third highest year-to-year change in pop-up rate and also the highest among starters. He has a 9.2 percentage point increase in pop-up rate. His pop-up rate is over double what it was last year. And along with that, what's great about his increase in pop-up rate is it is not coming at the cost of more competitive fly balls. His fly ball rate is 10.1 percentage points lower than it was in 2024, and I'm sure that has in the year-to-year change leaderboard that is among the top in terms of decreases. So he's allowing far more pop-ups and far less fly balls, and that's resulting in great things for him. And part of that is stemmed from I don't know how, but he increased his fastball spin rate by almost or by 84 RPM, which is pretty significant, and I think significant enough to get a lot more pop-ups. So yeah, that's helping him out. I don't know where he got the spin rate. I don't know if that's a foreign substance or if that's just
I think that's probably it, to be
more
honest.
more efficient mechanics, but who knows? But either way, it's working out for him, and he's got a 1.74 ERA and 2.90 expected ERA because of it. So, whatever you're doing, either do it more or hide it, keep hiding it well. But it's working out for him. So, Tyler McGill doing wonderful at getting pop-ups.
Yes, for my second player, I'm doubling down on pulled fly balls because I do really hype it up on this show. I'm talking about Alex Bregman from the Red Sox, who has been one of the best free agent signings of the previous offseason. I think it's between like him, Pete Alonso, and I guess Carson Kelly, right? Because I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
In terms of value, it's probably Carson Kelly, but overall, Alex Bregman has been one of the best, free agent signings. He ranks seventh in F4, or tied for sixth in F4, I should say. He ranks third in the American League, and has been, a revelation for the Boston Red Sox. A huge middle of the order bat that's been desperately needed with guys like Devers and Casas having, down years so far. But the reason he's doing it in large part is because 42.1% of fly balls he's hit this year have been pulled, which is the highest rate so far of his career in any season. Obviously, it's a smaller sample size, and certainly things can go back. But I mean, the fact that he's pulling a higher percent of fly balls than he did in 2019 is outstanding, because that was, his MVP caliber season, right? The best year that he's had so far in his career. His 21.1% fly ball home run to fly ball ratio this year is the highest since 2019. So the fact that he's, despite not having juice balls allegedly so far this season, performing around that same level is pretty remarkable. He's doing it at the cost of a bit more strikeouts. His strikeout highest it's ever been since 2016, which is 18%, which is 69th percentile, still very good. And honestly, that is, I think, a pretty clearly worthy trade-off. All right. I mean, if we're gonna like, that's the thing where people talk about how there's too many strikeouts now and how too many guys are striking out. In reality, I think in any hitter, you would take a 5% increase in strikeout rate if it also means, let's say, a 5% increase in barrel rate. I would take that, and that's what we've seen from Alex Bregman so far. Who knows if either one sustain itself? Maybe his strikeout rate goes down to 16%, his barrel rate goes down to 8%, whatever. But it's pretty clear he's doing the trade-off of contact for power thing, and it's working out very well. He's hit 8 home runs already this season. His OPS is near 1,000. He's hitting the ball harder, he's barreling the ball more, he's pulling it more, and at Fenway that obviously plays very well. It's actually the highest pulled air rate that he's had in his career. It's almost identical to what it was in 2019. Yeah, things are working out for him, and it's very clear to see why. Despite the lack of I'd say quote unquote lack of contact, despite the higher strikeout rate per his own averages, he's having one of the best seasons that he's had in his career, and it's the fly ball rate is 34.9%, the highest it's ever been. The pull rate is 52.3%, the highest it's ever been. The pulled air rate is 27.5%, an increase of 7.5% over last year, where it was to 20 flat. And I think that's been a major reason why he's been such a dominant offensive player in the middle of the Red Sox lineup this year. So shout out to Alex Bregman for hitting more balls in the air and pulling them, because it is working and you should keep doing more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, almost all adjustments come with some sort of a consequence. And sometimes you strike out more to get more power. And obviously I'd prefer a player to have a better than average strikeout rate, but when you're Aaron Judge and you're averaging a hard hit ball on your batted balls, it's like, I don't really care how much you strike out. Just keep hitting the ball absurdly hard. So my final guy that I'll look at, or actually let me determine if it's going to be him or someone else. I'm just looking at a certain leaderboard and seeing which one. Actually, yeah. I'll choose this guy.
All right.
Uh, and a lot of things have been working out a lot better for this particular individual, but specifically in one area, it's been looking really, really good. George Springer is hitting a lot more batted balls in the sweet spot zone this year. This was, I'll be honest, this is more of a a 2023 2022 trend for me, looking at the sweet spot rates a lot
Yeah.
more. I really liked using it then. I think it's still a very valuable tool, which is why I'm highlighting it right now. But George Springer has gone from uh, hitting 29% of his batted balls in the sweet spot zone to hitting 42% in the sweet spot zone. And if you don't know what the sweet spot zone is, I've explained it a lot on the podcast, but if you're new, the sweet spot zone is the batted ball zone between 8 and 32 degrees of launch angle. Hitters usually hit around 600 and slug around 1100 on those types of batted balls. And George Springer has been one of the best at improving that category in 2025. In fact, out of the 180 qualifiers this year, George Springer has the second highest change in year-to-year increase in sweet spot rate, and partially because of that, and him also hitting the ball way harder, his OPS has gone from 674 to 959 this year. And yeah, obviously, sweet spot rate isn't the sole purpose of that, but it is a contributing factor, and that is helping improve George Springer's offense this year. And yeah, what is your final statistical breakdown here?
Yeah, so for my final one, I'm stepping away from the pulled fly balls because there are other things that I look at, I promise. Talking about a guy that has been hitting exceedingly well against fastballs, just general fastballs, four seam or anything else, and has been doing very well with it. And I'm talking about Trent Grisham, who has had a very good season so far for the Yankees. Definitely been one of the more surprised good players, I would say. He's slashing 286, 360, 610 for a 970 OPS. And a lot of that success is coming against four-seam fastballs, which naturally he is seeing more of than any other pitch, as does pretty much any baseball player. He is hitting 400 and slugging 1040 against four-seamers with an 18% whiff rate, which is down 6% from where it was last year, which is obviously, very excellent. I love to see that. Trent Grisham has a 6.6 run value per 100 against four seamers. Additionally, he has an 8.0 against cutters. Is struggling a bit against sinkers, but overall he's hitting very well against fastballs in general. His 13 RV per 100 against fastballs as a whole ranks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth highest on a list of 211 hitters with at least 50 plate appearances ending against fastballs, which is solid. He had never had a run value per 100 to get above 0.5 against four seamers in any season entering this year. Obviously now he's at 6.6. I don't know if it'll sustain itself to that degree, but if he can keep it above 1, I think we're looking at possibly a career year offensively from Trent Grisham. I mean, that's pretty clearly what we've been seeing to this point already. Ironically, he hasn't stolen a single base, which used to be one of the main parts of his game. He's only stolen one since he became a Yankee. But he's hitting well against four seamers and therefore hitting well in general. Obviously, that's the pitch you see the most of. So the fact that he's doing exceedingly well against them, paves the way for a lot of success in general. So Trent Grisham hitting very well against fastballs, especially four seamers. And for that, I felt the need to highlight him.
Yeah, no, that's definitely been a pinpoint of how you evaluate players, especially for positional rankings and top 50s. And
Yeah, I think so far my biggest vindication of this, and this is obviously still very early and probably will change, but I was lower on Gunnar Henderson than a lot of other people this year. I put him 8 on my top 50. A lot of people put him not too much higher, but higher. And the reason why I put him below, for example, Corey Seager on the shortstop list was because he was a relatively league average hitter against four seam fastballs last year and happened to be just very good against and for fastballs in general, and was just very good at hitting breaking balls and off-speed pitches. So far this year, he has a 706 OPS, and there are other factors. He was injured to start the season. He's hitting the ball very hard. Still, he has a 95.7 mile per hour average exit velocity. Just he is hitting it a little more on the ground in general, and also the strikeout rate is up 4%. The walk rate's down 6%. There are other factors, but the stuff against the fastballs hasn't gotten much better either.
Right, right. And yeah, they in a I know it's a small sample, but they are throwing more forcing fastballs against him this year than last year. The rate
Yes.
is 1.8 percentage points higher.
Mhm.
So yeah, and yeah, obviously he wasn't as you mentioned, he was not excellent against them last year, despite being, probably I guess you would say an
Yeah.
excellent
And
hitter.
I'm obviously not rooting against Gunnar Henderson. That's just where I use the logic of doesn't hit well to or down on the list compared to anyone else. And as of right now, it appears to be correct. Although I don't suspect he will stay with a 706 OPS. I think that will pretty clearly go up. Also,
Right.
he has negative 5 outs above average, which is not great. Clearly, it's because he's not hitting fastballs.
I did not know he had negative 5 outs above that. That is
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you hate to see that. That's for
Hmm.
sure. But yeah, so that's a little warm up for the segment that we do every episode during the
Hmm.
regular season. We go into players to highlight, and uh we will start with the lows. So we end with the highs, with our so it is Sunday,
May 4th.
May 4th.
May the 4th.
May, not April anymore.
Yeah.
Sunday, May 4th, 2025 edition of Slightly Alarming Statistics. He's been barreling up the ball way less.
He's not missing bats. He's not getting the ball on the ground, and people are hitting it in the air more.
It's been so bad. He is getting a
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, it is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. The Force
Indeed.
is not with Carlos Correa so far this year, as he is slashing 207, 248, 298 for a 546 OPS, a 55 weighted runs created plus. As I just talked about Gunnar Henderson and how I ranked him lower, I was much higher on Carlos Correa than everybody else this year. Much, much higher, in fact. So here's me evening out my coverage of my own self here and talking about an L that I'm taking here as I put Carlos Correa 18th on my top 50 and sixth on my shortstop list. His average bat speed has dropped a mile per hour since last year, and his fast swing rate has dropped from 45.4% last year to 36.7% this year. In part because of this, I think his batted ball profile has become much worse. His ground ball rate has gone from 44.3% in 2024 to 49.5% in 2025. He's added 5% more ground balls, and it's taking away from his fly ball rate and his line drive rate, which is not ideal for a guy with his kind of power. Correa is seeing a higher rate of fastballs this year than he has in his entire career. His fastball rate in March/April of this year and May were both the top 8 highest rate of fastballs thrown to him that he's seen in any month throughout his time in the big leagues, which goes back to 2015. So he's seeing much more fastballs than he ever has, comparatively speaking, to most of his career. And his RV per 100 against fastballs is minus 2.1, which is the 5th lowest among the 118 hitters with at least 250 fastballs seen. And additionally, against non-fastballs, his average exit velocity has gone from 89.3 miles per hour last year to just 84.7 miles per hour this year. And his whiff rate has gone from 24.9% to 30.2%. So Correa is not hitting the ball particularly hard. He's not hitting in the air. And because of that, he is getting a slightly alarming.
Yeah, Carlos Correa.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, he had kind of a offensive renaissance last year, but he's looking more like his 2023 self in 2025 so far this year.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm also highlighting him as a slightly alarming.
Nice.
He through 100 and yeah, luckily I I did go probably a little bit more basic, but there's some things we're going in a bit different directions in some ways. Through one, the basic stuff through 129 plate appearances this season, he's hitting 207 with a 546 OPS, and out of 163 qualifiers this year, he has the 9th lowest OPS. Also, out of 168 hitters to see 400 plus pitches this year, he is the 9th lowest expected WOBA. From 2024 to 2025, his barrel rate has gone from 9.2% to 4.1%. That's cut by more than half. And among his 4 barrels that he's hit this year, only one of them has been pulled. Partially because of this, he only has 1 home run through 33 games. Also, his ground ball rate has increased. His line drive and fly ball rates have decreased. Along with that, his chase rate has gone from 26% to 31%, and this has led his walk rate to going from 10.9% to 5.4%. So yeah, Carlos Correa from both of us is getting a
slightly alarming.
So yeah, now we shall go from the lows to the highs, where we are talking players or subjects that have been outperforming their expectations with our Sunday, May 4, 2025 edition of How About That?
He's striking out less, walking more, and he's also making better contact.
Turning into a strikeout machine just out of nowhere.
He's been excellent all around this year.
And he is getting a
How about that?
Yeah, so for my How About That, this is a big team to knock off the list because I was very worried. I wasn't really sure what this team's identity would be, if anyone was going to step up. And it turns out a lot of guys have stepped up for the Miami Marlins. But the one that I'm highlighting today had a walk-off grand slam in Saturday's game off of Mason Miller to bring his OPS up to 944 on the season. I'm talking about Kyle Stowers. He was in the trade for Trevor Rogers from Baltimore last year, along with Connor Norby, and he's been a very good bat for the Fish this year. He is slashing 324, 392, 552, as I mentioned, for a 944 OPS and a 158 weighted runs created plus through his 120 plate appearances this year. Among the 143 qualifiers, he ranks 8th in batting average, 14th in OBP, 14th in slugging, 10th in OPS, and 13th in weighted runs created plus. His average bat speed has increased this year from 73.7% to 74.5% this year, or miles per hour, not percent. His fast swing rate has gone from 33.2% to 43.1%. It's gone up just about 10%, which has been pretty huge because this has resulted in harder hit balls and better placed batted balls. His 20.3% barrel rate ranks 9th among all qualifiers, and his 44.6% sweet spot rate ranks tied for 8th. 18.9% of his batted balls this year have been barreled and in the sweet spot, which is tied with Aaron Judge for the 4th highest rate. In 2024, he pulled 14.8% of his batted balls, and this year he is pulling 18.8% of his batted balls, which is still, I'd like to see it get higher, but 4% higher is good, no matter where it started. His pulled air rate has gone from 10.1% last year to 20.3% this year. And additionally, his 33.8% line drive rate ranks 6th highest among the 250 qualifiers. He has been making better swing decisions this year as well to finish this off. Last year, 68.6% of swings taken by Stowers were against pitches in the strike zone. And this year, it's gone up 6% to 74.6%. So we're seeing much better swing decisions from Kyle Stowers. We're seeing harder hit balls. We're seeing more pulled balls. And because of that, he's been, I think, kind of the offensive leader of the Miami Marlins so far. There are many guys that you could argue have that title, but I mean, the walk-off grand slam yesterday, I think, is a season-defining moment in which there have been many. The Marlins have had like 5 walk-offs so far this year. And yeah, they're a very fun team, which is very cool. I've enjoyed watching them so far.
Yeah, Kyle Stowers.
How about that?
Also shout out to both of us for having him as a player to watch in 2023.
Yep.
2 years early on
yeah.
Mr. Stowers. Yeah, he was a big, one of the proponents of high strikeout rate, but when he does make contact, man, it flies.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, we had to wait 2 years in a a team switch for that to come to fruition. But yeah, shout out to Kyle Stowers. My how about that? Almost kind of seems inevitable. Like this is just absurd, and this is what this is a player and time where this segment was made for. Talking about Carson Kelly of the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
He
It was due to happen at some point.
it's just, I mean, what
It's been
can you
sitting. It's been sitting there. Hasn't
Yeah.
really gone away.
No, it's just, it's like, okay, yeah, what if Aaron Judge was just an absolute nobody? That's what Carson Kelly is doing this year. Um, through 76 plate appearances this season, he is hitting 368 with a 1320 OPS. Out of 258 hitters with 70 plus plate appearances this year, Kelly ranks third in batting average, second in on base percentage, second in slugging, and first in OPS. Take that, Aaron Judge. Unbelievable. Out of 273 hitters with 250 plus pitches seen in 2025, Carson Kelly ranks ninth in expected batting average, seventh in expected slugging, and fourth in expected WOBA. And normally I don't put like kind of whatever my opinions of something are in my notes, but I had to put in my notes virtually all aspects of his hitting has improved. His
Yeah.
strikeout rate has gone from 18% last year to 8% this year. Out of 258 hitters, he has the sixth lowest strikeout rate. Also from 2024 to 2025, his walk rate has gone from 8% to 22%. And out of 258 hitters, he has the second highest walk rate. And a lot of that has to do with the more under the surface stuff. His whiff rate has gone from 23% to 17%, and that is in the 88th percentile in baseball. And his chase rate has gone from 24% to 17%. And out of 234 hitters to see 150 plus pitches out of the zone this year, Kelly has the sixth lowest chase rate. Along with that, the contact he is making has been much better this season. His barrel rate has gone from 6.6% in 2024 to 15.4% in 2025, and that is in the 86th percentile in baseball. His average exit velocity has also gone from 87.6 miles per hour to 92.9 miles per hour, and that is in the 88th percentile in baseball. Also, his rate of fly balls being pulled has gone from 20% to 44%. And out of the 293 hitters to hit 10 plus fly balls this year, he has the 23rd highest rate of fly balls being pulled. Largely because of that, his home run to fly ball ratio has gone from 10% to 29%. That's on Fangraphs, which includes pop-ups, I believe. And then on Baseball Savant, where you can go by just the regular fly balls, his home run to fly ball ratio has gone from 13% to I believe 38 or 39%. I forgot to put that down in the notes, but yeah, Carson Kelly has been absolutely exceptional. I mean, he's getting on base more than half the time this year, and also is slugging over 800, which it's just absolutely absurd. And under the surface wise, it looks like it is somewhat sustainable. Obviously, he's probably not going to have a 15% barrel rate the whole year, but still, he's obviously going to make an improvement on the long-term scale from 2024 to 2025, and he is getting A.
How about that?
All right, so that does it for player of the highlight. And how about that segment? But yeah, wonderful stuff. Anything you wanted to get off your mind before we wrap this up?
Honestly, no. I don't think I have anything. I've been thinking about it. Not really.
Yeah, no, I think maybe
Shout out to a friend of the show, Matt Brash, for making his return from Tommy John
Yeah.
surgery last night. Pitched a scoreless seventh inning.
yeah,
Texas.
Yeah, that's wonderful. By the way, yeah, if you want to learn more about Matt Brash and his kind of journey, his professional baseball journey, go check out episode 334 of About Replacement Radio. We had him on for an hour. That's pretty it was and it was pretty good stuff. And yeah, we just posted a clip on our channel of how he developed his sweeper, which is one of the nastiest pitches in baseball. But yeah, that shall do it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you were listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio. If you haven't checked out the new video essay on the channel, go check that out. It's a 10-minute video about the slow death of ERA. And if you've been listening to the show, I'm sure you kind of know the direction that's going in. But yeah, so go check that out. Also go to the guest interviews playlist where we've had Jeff Passan, Chris Rose, Sarah Langs, Mike Petriello, Foolish Bailey, among others.
Happy belated birthday to other friend of the show, Sarah Langs, by the way. Birthday was
Yes.
on Friday.
Yes, shout out to her. Sarah Langs is the best.
The best.
Just like baseball. And yeah, so be sure to check those out. They're pretty evergreen interviews, so even if they were, posted a few years ago, you'll still get a good bit out of it. And follow us on social media. Follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran, and follow the show on Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next time, where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball once again. See you then.
This conversation is over.